The Secret Life of Dad.
Daddy made a podcast.
Welcome to the first episode of the Secret Life of Dads podcast with myself and Lawrence Price.
Are you okay? You look very tense.
I'm quite tense. Yeah, I'm
excited.
I'm very excited.
Yeah, me too.
What's the podcast about, Lawrence?
The podcast is about being a dad. It's about dads. It's about raising children. It's about fatherhood. It's about all sorts. And but before we move on, I don't want us to diminish the gravitas of this particular moment. This has been many years in the making, you and I. It goes right back to the days where we were Lotharios roaming the streets of Clapham, Chelsea and Fulham. And we knew back then that we wanted to do a podcast together. And so we had to set out into the world and we had to find two females to impregnate. And of course, they bore our children. Is that the right term?
Bore?
Is
that the term?
I don't know.
I don't know. It's great. Keep going, though.
Yeah.
Have you practiced this introduction?
No. This is flow.
It's like you're at the Globe or the National. Go on, Lawrence. Keep going.
I don't know what's coming out.
Yeah.
And then they built these humans. They created these humans. They brought them into the world. And you and I have started raising these children. And we did all this so we could start this podcast about being a dad. So it's a huge moment. Let's not brush it under the carpet. That's all I'm saying.
Wow. I mean, if you speak like that for the entirety of this series or the next few years, I'm going to be very impressed.
Thank you very much.
That's amazing. I think it is. I think it's about just exploring fatherhood. Because I think sometimes with my wife, I don't know if yours is the same, she must think sometimes like, what the hell is he doing? Like, what goes on inside his head? So I think we want to explore that. And each week we're going to have a new guest on, but we want to find out not who they are as a person, but who they are as a dad. So somebody who might be in the spotlight, somebody who's not in the spotlight. Maybe they've got kind of an image, but we want to explore what they're really like as a parent, as a father, because there's not that much out there. That's why we've decided to start this. There's a lot around the mum scene.
Yeah, and it's like, a swan on the water. If so,
Sure. Yeah. Go on. I can't wait for this. Go on.
We, if someone's a known, let's say, personality for something, we see the swan on top of the surface gliding along, pristine, what they present to the world. But what we want to discover and
is the tadpoles underneath?
It's the tadpoles.
Yeah.
The feet as they're paddling away and all the kind of.
Sorry, not the tadpoles. That made no sense.
This is a natural expression. I'm not just making this up.
Okay.
Like a swan and. So we want to delve into under the water, under the surface. We want to look at the flippers. Do swans have flippers? No.
No, they don't.
No, they don't. Do they?
No. They've got feet.
We want to look at the feet. We want to look at the swan's feet.
That's a great analogy for this podcast.
Thank you.
Forward. How's your week been? What's the most mental thing your kid has done this week?
Well, I'll tell you what kind of week it's been. Monday night, so our children developed, it's their first week or two back at school, and they developed these chest kind of coughs, and this is something that my wife is very anxious about when this happens. So, she's got
rightly so.
Totally. So she has asthmatic issues and asthmatic history, and we've had occasions, like so many parents have, where we've been in hospital overnight because the oxygen levels dropped to a certain level. So she's very tuned in and got her eye on this. So that was the start of our week. So Monday night, we had the children in with us. So we made up a mattress on the floor. They were coughing, they were spluttering. My wife was up every 2 hours measuring the oxygen levels. And we were all kind of in the same room. It was like the opening scene to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory when the whole family are in the same bed. And it's like, here we are. This is going to be one of those weeks where we're here for each other. We're here for you. We've still got to get out there and show up for work and do all these stuff. But we've got to make sure our children are healthy and that they're okay and that we don't have to rush to the hospital. So we were like, we were literally bedding down together as a unit to get through. And that was Monday. And that kind of started off the week.
Did you sleep okay with the kids? Were they in the same bed as you? Or on the floor?
They were on the floor. So we had the double bed, my wife and I. And then on my wife's side on the floor, we have the mattress with the kids in. I'm very good at sleeping. So again,
You're very good at sleeping. I think for anybody that doesn't, Lawrence has 2 kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I have 1.
2.
So you have double the trouble.
Double the trouble.
Yeah. Everything that you do is twice as hard.
Yeah. Well, no, because mine are almost 7 and then 4, whereas yours is...
Mine's 2.
So you
2 and a bit.
are in the thick of it. You are in it
right
now.
Yeah.
Which means that you are going through the most challenging part. And how did that make your week look so far? I know you've got a
My
few things
week
going
has
on.
been actually, so she started nursery a couple of weeks ago, which has been great because it's given us a bit of our lives back. But this week, the most challenging thing, so she came back from nursery the other day and she hadn't slept. And if she doesn't sleep during the day, the nights it can be a challenge. So she hadn't slept, and then it was getting towards like 5 o'clock. And she was just kicking off a little bit. And then we sat down on the sofa and she went, "Daddy, no sofa." I was like, "What?" She said, "Daddy, no sofa." I was like, "What? It's my sofa. I bought this one." It was a gifted sofa, but it's my sofa. And she, "No sofa." And just recently, my wife, she's like, "Look, you've been working really hard. You're much more composed. You know, you're a lot more patient."
You are?
Yeah, with Aurelia, because she
amazing.
had
That's brilliant.
of
I've noticed that as well, by the way.
yeah,
So.
that's good. Thanks, mate. But anyway, she just started going, "Daddy, no sofa, no sofa." And I was like, "Fine, I'm not going to sit on the sofa." And I got up and I stormed off. And I was like, "Why have I just done that?" I don't know if do you ever get that, or do you think that's tougher at like that age because they can't quite communicate yet? And so if they can't communicate, what they'll do is they'll just raise their voices and scream at you. Yeah. And then afterwards, I was like, "Damn, why did I get a bit?" We call it gruffalo.
Yeah, totally. It's like there's a kind of conversation and communication going on, but it's non-logical. You don't know what they're struggling to communicate, so they communicate.
So with my wife or daughter.
And then there's and there's the children, which is even worse. Totally. I with my son last night, and he's not very well, and you know, I was bathing him. And he had his hair's growing quite long. And I said to him, "Listen, next week I'm going to take you out of school. We're going to have, you know, a boys' day, and I'm going to take you for your haircut. You're going to sit in the racing car as you had your haircut, and then afterwards I'm going to take you for a milkshake." Nice. And as soon as I said milkshake, his face dropped. And he's like, "No, pick your own." And I was like, "What do you mean, darling?" He was like, "Pick your own." And so he was putting two together about having a trip with the boys, haircut followed by pick your own. In my head, pick your own is like out of town, in the countryside, half an hour away. And I was like, "Well, no, I don't think that will work," because anyway, it all kind of kicked off from that point. And he's kind of like thrashing around the bar, but because he's tired and he's ill and he's feeling all these things, he doesn't understand it. So I just said, yes, pick your own. Yes, absolutely, we'll do pick your own. And none of it makes sense, but as long as you're kind of like making them feel better and giving them that space and supporting them, then it's better. And then I run away.
Like the unexpected tantrums, right, is something I never even just thought was a thing. You know, I had heard of like the terrible twos and everything like that, but what? They're wild. Yeah. They're wild. Because there are points like we'd look at Ray and we'd be like, "What are you doing? What are you doing? What's currently going through your head that means that you've got to throw crayons in our face and stab us with forks?"
Yes,
It's crazy, isn't it? Imagine if I acted like that in public.
Well, I have seen you.
Yeah, well, you have many a night in Soho. But imagine that.
Yes.
You just walk in. How's your day going? Good. I'm going to put this fork straight in your eye.
Yeah. They're just
Just going to put it in your eye.
Yeah.
Straight in.
But why is it? So you were saying earlier that, you know, Ray hadn't slept and then it was 5 p.m. and you can see them turn, you can see the energy. Why is it? And I'm sure we'll have experts on that will explain this to us. But why do children, the more tired they are, the more awake they become, the harder it is for them to actually wind down and go to sleep. Whereas us adults will shut down, will fall asleep anyway.
It's crazy. So we worked with, because Ray really didn't sleep in the first year, so it meant that we didn't sleep. So we worked with a company called Sleep and Bunnies. My wife was very close to the owner of it. And we went down a whole path of trying to figure it out. And apparently there's like sleep pressure. And the sleep pressure builds up throughout. Because for me, I'm just like in my head, right, if you're tired, just go to sleep. Yeah. But for them, it doesn't work. Then they get overtired. Yeah. This is, again, stuff I didn't know about. So I used to be that. Before Ray came, I used to be like, you know, parents used to have routines and stuff. Like, no, can't go out because I'm napping at that time. I used to be like, what are you talking about? Yeah. Can't go out. I'm just going to do anything. Yeah. I'm gonna circumnavigate the globe. I'm going to be like Shackleton. I'm going to go to the Arctic with her. Yes. No, routine. If you miss a routine, like the other night, it got like past 6:30. And if it's just me and her, she's in bed at 6:30. It got over 6:30. It's like 6:45. And I was like, why isn't the kid in bed yet? Because it's like a ticking time bomb, isn't it? So that is something I really didn't know about.
And if you, on that note, for the brief moments that we try to kind of think, actually, you know, the routine, let's take it with us, let's travel, let's go stay somewhere, let's go to a wedding, and then you have to take the blackout blinds with you because you've got the anxiety around.
So we take tinfoil. You get tinfoil. We look like lunatics everywhere you go. You get tinfoil and you just like plaster it.
Yeah.
The travel is tough because like we sometimes think now if she has a meltdown about something, we just look at ourselves and go, "Why have we done this? Why have we done this?" I think one of the best pieces of parenting advice I had is that not to feel guilty about just going to the park for the billionth time. Like the park next to the house, because we always used to think like, right, she used to do all these classes, and then sometimes I took her to ballet once, and I was like, I got back and I was like, I'm never taking her to ballet again, because all the kids were doing ballet, and she found this suitcase in the corner, and she opened it, and every time I picked her up, the back arch,
yeah,
and all the mums were like looking at me, and when parents look at you and they go, and I'm like, and I just went, no, that's it. I'm going. And luckily, this other mum said, look, I can step. And then she was fine with the other mum.
Yeah.
But to me, she was the devil.
Why is that?
She was the devil.
They just know.
Yeah. So that's the annoying thing that she's done. Not annoying, just a bit testing. And then I'm going away for 2 weeks. So this morning she gave me a really lovely cuddle, which was really nice. So I'm kind of like, do you ever get dad guilt, Lawrence? In terms of like if you're going away or
no.
No.
That's negative, Matthew. I get
what
dad.
Is this
I
guilt?
get dad joy. Skipping with my.
See you later. But you've got to like pick your battles. Like I went to Marseille for the rugby a few weeks ago.
Of course
and like the days to the build up to it, you've got to. I'll take bedtime tonight. Yeah. That's another thing. Like the bedtime routines. It's a long process. Like bath times and everything like that.
Oh, you're talking to the wrong man. Honestly, if my wife was here, oh gosh. So what happens is it takes a long time for her to bathe them, to wind them down. She plays kind of soothing music. We have, we dim the lights, and then I'm usually kind of at my desk working, and then it gets to sort of 7 p.m. Like, I don't want to miss their bedtime. I want to go and give them a cuddle. I want to give them a kiss. So I'm not going to say burst into the bedroom, but I open the door in a normal pace and I say, "Hello, children. I'm going to say goodnight now." And within within a second, they're jumping up, they're jumping on my back, they're hitting me, they're going crazy.
Does your wife hate you for that?
Yeah, no, well, she absolutely hates it. But in my mind,
That's
I'm
fair
like,
enough, mate.
I'm like, I want to say goodnight to my kids. I want to be there for those moments. I don't want to kind of work through them. But this is definitely a tightrope that I'm walking with my wife at the moment, just trying to get the right balance between playing a supportive role and not hindering that bedtime as things currently stand. But it's something that I'm actually, one of my kind of big focal points at the moment is to try and get away from work sooner and be part of that process a little bit more, because I'm definitely
mine is to be at work all the time.
Yeah.
Literally. Every day. I don't even need to go away for 2 weeks for work. I'm just going by myself.
Come home at 9 p.m.
Right. So one thing that I did want to do is I wanted to basically, we put out a little message to our followers to find out what's the most testing thing that your child has done this week, or maybe something out of the ordinary this week. So I've had a few responses.
Okay.
Should I start? So no, I said, what's the most unexpected thing that your child has done recently? Should I give you something?
Yeah,
should I start at all last?
Please do.
So the first one is somebody put, ask me where hell is.
Asked me where hell is.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wonder how that conversation went.
Ooh. Well, how do you start that one?
I don't. What do you say? How would you respond to that? It's where daddy goes when he's been bad. It's where daddy goes when he's been away to watch the rugby for a weekend. Yeah. This
definitely veers into the whole life and death and the temporary. Again, we've had this conversation recently, and once they discover death, it's like, obviously that must be a huge kind of moment.
What age do kids discover death?
Well,
again, do you know what? We're going to get experts on this show to dive all the way through this, because I feel like I am not qualified enough to say where hell is.
No, I mean, this is the whole point again of the podcast. I guess we should say, being the first episode, is that we are blank canvases. We are not beautiful painted pictures
we're
of
not Michelangelo.
We're not
Sistine Chapel.
We're not absolutely. we're a blank canvas with a few smudges on it, a few dirty smudges, and we are here to learn. And we've got all these questions. We've got, at the moment, Matthew, we've got more questions than answers, which is
Definitely
what this podcast
Why
is
do
about.
I have this itch? Why has it? Yeah.
Exactly.
So how would you answer that if your child said to you, Daddy, where is hell?
I would say, Miranda, children have got a question for you. I'd have to go do some gardening or something at that exact moment.
Okay.
No. I try to, again, try not to bullshit the kids as well, and I try.
Saying that, right?
Yeah.
I used to be the parent as well that would never lie.
Ooh,
But sometimes you have to tell. Again, we'll get a child psychologist onto this because I might be, damaging my child by lying to them. But it's like soft lies. Like, yes, if you do that, we can go and get an ice cream. Ice cream is like our main bargaining chip. But I said that at like 7 a.m. the other day. It was a bit early to start the day with ice cream.
Yeah.
But then she doesn't forget.
No, they never forget.
She doesn't forget about the ice cream. Like 6 hours later, she'd be like, ice cream.
It can be days later. And they'll say, remember that little square of chocolate that you said you'd give me if I polished your shoes. But I totally agree. I don't think there's anything wrong with bribery. If you think about everything's bribery, most people show up to work to do a job they don't want to do to get money, and that's a form of exchange, an exchange of services or behavior, controlling your behavior.
It's okay to lie to your children.
Totally, as long as you're bribing them. Yeah.
All right, next one.
As I say, we're not the experts. We're just finding our way through all of this.
Not. And I really think we said this before at the start of the podcast. I think a big part of this is going to actually be. I think it's going to be probably more mums that listen to this to start with.
Totally.
Just to try and like figure out what goes on in our heads.
Why dads are so.
Why? Yeah, I had to do like raise hair for school. Well, the first time I did raise hair. Do you know those trolls? Maybe we'll get this up on the screen. Like those toy trolls.
Yeah, I know exactly.
Yeah. Doing kids' hair is quite hard. I wasn't very good at it. And some of the outfits that I put her in, it's like one of the scene in E.T. where they dress E.T. up. We'll put it here. That's what my kids looked like when she went to school for the first day.
Off.
Yes. It's testing, but hey, we're trying our best.
Totally, and I think that's all you can do as a dad is try, right? Yeah,
is try.
And make mistakes, because the best way you learn is through mistakes, and that's why I actively seek out mistakes as a dad, because I know that on the other side of every mistake, I try deliberately, all the mistakes that seem like,
and it kind of means that you're not given the task again.
Precisely, Matthew. Precisely. So it's a way of outsourcing
so badly.
Roles and responsibilities.
He can't do that. He's a fucking idiot.
Exactly. And we've all had that. Like the children that come back from school. Miranda's been like, "Why? Is their top inside out?"
From school,
or, all that kind of stuff. But again, like to all the mums that'll be listening, that you are where it's at. We are looking to you as dads.
Oh my God.
Like, how do you do it? How do you do it all?
Unbelievable creatures, aren't they?
Unbelievable. Teach us.
They've got
Show
like
us.
the patience, the time, the amount of effort, the love. Like, I remember the first year, or no, because my wife had HG, so she was sick every day for the entirety of her pregnancy. Sick of me. And then I just remember, like, towards the end of it, all I could do was like pat her back, and I felt absolutely useless. And then she brought this child into the world, and I was just like, wow, my job is easy.
They've literally.
But what can I do to help? Maybe that's what this podcast is about.
Well, totally, mate. And I often think about that. I'm like, you created a human life. You built it in your body, and you brought it into this world, and it's so demanding of you.
Annoying. Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
it's like, and then after the birth, you continue to sacrifice your body to raise this being, this human being who is growing up to one day hopefully be, an adult like us with this childhood that you were nurturing. It's just completely mind blowing, and the love and respect that it deepens for.
What impact has having two children had on your relationship with your wife?
Good question. We do this thing every 3 months.
Sex.
Every
3 months is lucky, bloody hell. God, lucky man.
Actually, no, sex is a good thing to get onto at some point, but this is just a real simple thing. Every 3 months, we try to go away for a weekend, just the two of us, where we stay in a hotel. The children are looked after by grandparents or something like that. And we, first of all, we don't really do anything. We just like, oh my goodness. And we just, we basically just lie in and just, eat breakfast without it being thrown over the floor and, all this kind of stuff. And then we just start to remember our relationship as a couple, not just as parents. And we have these silly moments and we go straight back to it. And we have this joke. We're like, oh, this is why I fell in love with you. Yeah. You're funny. You're all these things. But you always have
a sense of humor.
Yeah. Because otherwise you're just like on this like constant,
parents, aren't you?
Fulfilling these roles, this routine, this carousel of kind of like do this and do that, which I think, does start to define your relationship in many ways. So I just think we've got to be aware of that and then extricate ourselves and remember our relationship as a couple. Yeah.
Because I think you kind of just label being a parent, don't you? Just like sometimes it can feel that's all you do. And it felt like just before Ray kind of went to nursery, we were like moving house and going through a house. Don't do a house renovation with a toddler, by the way. I turned around the other day, she had this just drill in her hand.
Oh,
I didn't touch that.
So you haven't. You asked me how my week has gone. Just to bring it back to the beginning, like how has your week gone? Because I know that you've had a few things going on at home.
Yeah, it's just we're doing a house renovation at the moment, which is great, but quite testing with a toddler because you go back at the end of the day and you don't have a kitchen and the sofa's all covered up, the TV's covered up. There's bits everywhere. There's like kind of like you find nails on the floor that's left behind at the end of the day. Yeah. And you know what as well is, when a toddler gets something like in their hands that you don't want them to have, like a drill or a saw, and then they won't let go of it. Yeah. That's something now that they're going through with her that's quite, so we try and make it a bit more, we don't really need that. I'm not bothered if you've got that drill there. Don't care. And then, but inside you're like, shit, how do I get that out of them? Because they're also petrifying as well. You might be out of that stage now.
What, the petrifying stage?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, still.
It deepens. Yeah. They smell your fear, and when they have an axe in the hand or a chainsaw or something, and they see you kind of your eyes and you're saying, now give that to me. They're saying, well, actually, I can see you're afraid.
They're so scary, mate. Toddlers are so fucking scary. Seriously. And if it happens at like a restaurant or something, nobody prepared me for that. Yeah. Because I remember thinking, right, because I just didn't sleep at all like for the first year. I'm thinking, God, this is so hard. And then I remember one of my friends saying, just wait until they're 2. It'll be harder. And I was like, nothing can be harder than this right now. Then you get to 2 and you're like, fuck, it's so much harder.
There's always another level.
Much harder. There's always more. Level. And then part of me is now thinking, and then people who have like 3 or 4. When I went to rugby at the weekend, one of the lads, he's got a couple of kids, and he was like, when they're 2, you get. He didn't say psychopath, but he said something along those lines. When they're 3, you get a semi-decent human. Semi-decent.
Nice.
And when you're 4, you get a friend.
Oh, that's lovely.
I thought that was really lovely. So I was like, so I've got to wait 2 years to get a friend.
You get.
But it's easier, right? Like, do you find parenting easier by yourself? Because when it's me and Chess, she plays up to mummy big time. Totally. So when it's just me and her, I find it easy. But when mum's there as well, it's like, because take driving for an example. Yeah. If I'm not driving, she always kicks off in the car. So I hate being the passenger. I'm always like, no, I've got to drive, and it's all blown off. It's like Armageddon behind me.
You just got to focus on the road.
I'm okay. And Chess is like getting to the back, getting the snacks. Snacks, turn up my bad.
It's just if you're sitting in the front as the passenger parent, you're just constantly rotating your back, picking something off the floor, giving them something else, clearing up the drink, and it is very busy. And
so that's why I don't do it.
No, and don't do it. I mean, like, to answer your question, when mum's around, there are all these rules. When it's daddy daycare, there are no rules.
There are no rules. You do what you want.
So it's a lot easier to manage.
You want to drink at 8 a.m. You drink.
Exactly. We normally just have
that bottle of Jack. Yeah. I know how that got there.
It's normally right for 4 or 5 hours. We're holding the fort, so we've just got to keep them moving. We've got to keep them alive by any means until the mum gets back, and then
relinquish.
And the mum,
there you go.
Pick up the pieces.
Do your job.
And then
you can do this now.
Exactly.
I am ruined. Help me. Help me. But yeah, all in all, it's been a good week. I think having the little one at nursery has been good. It's been good, but doing that with the house renovation, it's been tough.
And what you had like poo all over the bed and stuff as well.
Oh shit, yeah.
We should talk about feces.
An entire block of Compty, an entire.
Was it cave aged?
Was it what? Aged?
Cave aged?
Cave aged?
Compton? Compty?
Compty.
Compty cave aged?
Cheese. Compty cave aged.
AOP? Or just standard? No, I'm a cheese connoisseur, it's okay.
Oh, you are. Yeah. My vocabulary or my lexicon of cheese isn't.
Did it have salt crystals in it? What was it like?
No. I don't really like cheese.
Okay.
I don't really eat much of it, so I have no idea what you just said.
Forgive me, carry on.
Yeah, anyway, dog ate loads of cheese.
Okay.
Woke up in the middle of the night, all we could hear is this, the pitter, patter, pitter, patter, pitter, patter. We've ripped up all the carpet in the house, so it's just like wooden floors. I was like, fucking hell, he's going to need to go for it. He's going to shit himself. So we opened the door. This is when the storm was going. Arsehole exploded. Came back up. A couple of hours later, went back out again. Exactly the same thing happened. Came back up, but then rubbed his ass all over our bed sheets. And when you're just like, you just kind of look with a pensive kind of gaze past the window, past the skyline, and think, what the fuck has my life become?
How did it come to this?
Why has my dog just wiped his diarrhea ass on my bed? How did it come to this? And here
mate, I think the other, well, there was a time I think I counted something like 12 shits that I cleaned up in the morning before I was even able to clean my own up, I have to say, between the dog and the children and everything else like that. But I think it's good. I think it's
pick up shit.
I think it's
their own, really.
It's a real grounding experience. It kind of shatters any kind of ego. The first thing you have to do is kind of get down and dirty and do the basics in life, and that's you have to start from that point every day.
Yeah,
and I think
picking up poo.
It's healthy.
Yeah,
stoic.
Because nappies, are they out in? When do they get out of nappies?
Yeah. So, well, they are out of nappies.
Every now and then you just get a diarrhea bomb.
No,
surprise!
But you just get. I mean, like there are all these things you just get used to curveballs. Like I remember in the early days of being a dad, and train leaves in half an hour. The train is 10 minutes away or whatever, and you're going to leave the house, and all of a sudden there's a poonami, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, we've got to quickly change that nappy, get it wrapped up, the clock's ticking, and then the other one knocks over a vase that explodes on the floor, and you're like, oh,
yeah,
okay,
that's one thing actually. How hard is it just leaving a house now?
It's impossible.
Like, I understand why parents are late for everything.
Yeah.
Like, just leaving the house, just getting out, it's like that, and then there's a tantrum about something, and then you've forgotten that, and then it's so crazy. Like nobody prepares you for that sort of stuff in terms of like your time management skills. So if we've got an appointment at like 6:30, I say it's 6 o'clock. So we've got to leave at 6, and that's just chess. And then the kids, and then shower. Yeah, it's mad. The time management thing is crazy. It's nobody prepares you for that. Nobody prepares you for like a child's brain and the cognitive functions, the stages that it goes through. Nobody prepares you for that. That's very much development. Like you learn as you go. Development.
That's what I want to learn in this podcast. I want to have someone tell us about development.
Why is my kid doing this? What can I do to, make it a bit easier on us or other dads?
And to help
what
them
can we learn?
How can we better understand this? How can we hold that space with compassion and allow them to develop whilst not losing my mind?
Exactly. That's it. It's all about keeping it sane up there. There's a few more interactions that we've had. So most unexpected thing your child has done recently. This one actually really made me laugh. So potty training and took a shit on the dog.
Took a shit on the dog? Sorry.
The child.
Sorry.
How does it...
It's the dog. Sorry. It's the dog.
The dog didn't... The child took a shit on the dog.
Okay. Is the dog like asleep or moving around? And is the child chasing the dog around the living room trying to poo, or is it? Does the dog wake up with a poo on it? Or is the dog...
Could you imagine? Yeah. Anybody seen Hugo this morning? Hugo's the name of my dog. We're just going to use Hugo's name for all future dog references. Anybody seen Hugo this morning? Hugo just sat in the dog bed and he's got a giant human turd on his head.
Oh my God.
That really got me. Potty training and took a shit on the dog. How do you explain that as a parent? You're like, ooh, we're not even close.
Yeah, but
we're not even close.
This is what happens.
There's the potty and you've taken a shit on Hugo's head.
So my sister-in-law, my wife's sister, they were potty training their kids, and they have this kind of crazy dog. I think it's a Portuguese water dog or something. And
What's one of those?
well, it's like this kind of like
Portuguese water dog. Can we get that on screen
something like
now?
that. It was Can you see that?
Wow.
Yeah. And
That's a
you know,
bear.
they're potty training the kids, and the kid does a poo, and it's a bit mayhem around the house. The child does a poo in the potty. It's a wonderful moment, and then the dog comes along, snaffles it, starts eating the poo out of the potty, and then you're trying to stop the dog, and next thing you know, the dog's doing a shit. And this is what I mean, shit everywhere,
Yeah.
and you're just like this is.
Hugo ate. We came downstairs. Obviously, we don't have a kitchen at the moment, so it's just all like it's bomb site. And came downstairs, and Hugo had pulled out 2 of Aurelia's shit-filled nappies from the bin, and he was eating them.
Oh,
Yeah, that sort of stuff.
oh gosh,
Yeah,
this is
not gonna
why
forget
it's hard not to talk about being a dad and not talk about shit at the same time, isn't it? The two come hand
They
in
go
hand.
hand in hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't realize there was so much.
Shit
Yeah,
everywhere, all the time.
exactly. Let's
Potty
move on.
training and took a shit on that. Really tickled me. Because, yeah, I don't know how that's possible. Next one.
Can we get more details on that for that
Yeah, maybe
for that
next
listener?
one. Thank
Just
you.
a bit more. Paint the picture for us, please. We need to be able
Or
to.
don't.
Oh, yeah.
Or don't. Next one. This is just really simple, but
Mhm.
slept through the night.
No, don't believe it. That's a fake.
Yeah, that's absolutely.
someone trolling.
Yeah. That's our first troll.
Yep, no,
That's our first troll.
no, don't believe that fake
That's
news.
nonsense. Yeah, fake news. Fake news. We'll get Trump up here. Fake news. Oh God, I read that's completely different then. Eating a bath bomb at school.
Eating a bath bomb.
Why are they giving bath bombs at school? What school's this?
What? Yeah, what a bath. I mean, like unless
Why are the kids having baths at school? Is that a thing?
I don't
What
know.
school's your child going to?
Well, that is the worry, isn't it? That's one of the big worries. That's
Eating
something
a bath bomb at school.
I like we all have our paranoia around certain things, and one of the big paranoias I have is for children eating the wrong things, and you
Yeah.
don't know. And if they're foaming at the mouth because it's like a bath bomb, but you don't know if it's I don't know cleaning liquid for the
Yeah.
sink or something like that. That's something I get really freaked out on.
Have you had any of those?
Yeah. We had. Oh God, it was actually one of those situations that just escalated when our daughter was younger. Just a Saturday morning, we're in our pajamas. We're sort of getting ready for a regular weekend, and then we hear this sound, and she'd climbed up onto the kitchen surfaces at the top, and she was drinking a drink. It was just like a normal adult drink glass that we were given as a wedding present, and it broke in her mouth. So there was blood coming out of her mouth, and I quickly rushed over, got her to open up her mouth, got to take out any glass that was in there. But of course, the huge worry was that has she swallowed glass? Is it all out? And we were trying to keep her calm, not panic her, whilst obviously being really stringent on trying to check her mouth and so on. So we ended up taking her to hospital, and she had to have a scan.
Did she swallow any glass?
So they didn't find anything, and it was all really precautionary. But then while she was in hospital, they had to put a camera down, so she gets scanned. They put a camera down her throat to have a look, and then that strangely evoked some sort of reaction from her, and she almost had like some kind of strange fit as she was coming back round, which then they said they thought was that she'd contracted some sort of virus at hospital. It escalated. So
God.
from she, thank goodness, she's okay, but it escalated into one of those situations where, again, we're just there having breakfast on a Saturday morning. Next thing you know, it's like 3 or 4 days in hospital.
Yeah.
And it's like ongoing. And we went to the hospital in Southampton, and we were waiting there. And of course, quite rightly, they had to prioritize other children with more serious issues. And so our scans kept being delayed back and back and back. And you're kind of in that environment, and then it kind of envelops you, and then they kind of have almost escalates into other sort of issues. But yes, it's a big worry. It's a big concern.
Expecting the unexpected as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like any plans that you make will never come to fruition. Something will happen. I'm not saying go wrong, but there's a strong chance that a child will. Mess it
So
up for
don't
you.
make any plans.
Don't make any
And
plans ever.
But also,
again.
seriously, we've become quite unsociable, and I don't know about you, the first year or two, we're slowly coming out of that now, but we really just kind of like focused inwardly on, living our little quiet life, and COVID kind of helped in a large degree of us just kind of staying at home and keeping a low profile. But I think a lot of parents kind of trying to get that balance right, and this is something we'd love to speak to our guests about, is how they got the balance right between raising kids, particularly in the early years, but also having their own time, having their sociable time, and then how did they, if they did take a step back like we did, how have they reintegrated that back in? Because it's a different dynamic.
It's really different. I think it's like what I really want to explore in this as well is I think dads especially, like how do you find yourself again and not just label yourself as a dad, and coping mechanisms that you use. I know a lot of people probably turn to fitness and such like that, but I reckon some dads have got some funny coping mechanisms, haven't they? What's the weirdest thing that you do?
Well, this is why the secret life of dads, right?
Yeah,
because there's this like little part of us that, you know, like everyone has to, and as you said at the start, not to have any guilt or, you know, around, you know, holding something back for yourself and having a bit of me time. It's like dads, you know,
what's the weirdest thing you do, dads?
Yeah, tell us.
Come on,
tell us, dads. We this.
It's a secret. Nobody's gonna know. Nobody's gonna know.
It's important to have that little bit of dad time, that little bit of secret dad time, where you just maybe there's a friend that you go off and you go curling together. It's something to unwind.
No, that's weird.
Is that weird? Okay, yeah. Maybe you know you go and you know a pottery class or something like that. You know, no pottery. Weird. Yeah. Wait,
are you just happy, content of just like time by yourself?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's weird, isn't it? Just sometimes I'll just go into like a tiny little cupboard in the house and I'll just sit there by myself for like 3 hours.
Hug your knees.
I won't even take my phone.
No. Yeah. Just get away from the world.
Look at the wall for 3 hours. And then I come out, I'm like, that's cool.
Totally. And then you're okay. Yeah. Yeah. I think that definitely counts as, you know, a secret thing for dads to do. And we highly recommend it.
Absolutely. Okay, the final one. Our son left the room and then entered again naked. He then proceeded to spread his butt cheeks apart to show everyone his bumhole.
Oh, yeah.
I think that was just at a party.
Well, I did that once in a changing room.
When you were 3?
No, I was like 24 or something. So I met up with, sorry to steal the kids' thunder here, but I'm just saying, like, let's normalize, you know, our bodies.
Your butt cheeks.
Yeah,
let's normalize
No,
it.
we played football, and we had all my old school friends got together as a kind of old boys team. We played football against the local town.
I love that. I thought you were joking, but this is you.
Oh,
go
yeah.
On. Can't wait.
And then, like, my friend was at the other side of the changing room, and I was like, hey, Dan. And then as he looked, I was kind of like bent over, pulling my, you know, wiggling my arse around as a joke. And everything was quiet, and I looked up, and the opposition coach had walked in through the door, and he was literally just staring at me the whole time as I'm like wigging my bottom side to side, spreading the butt cheeks, and then I obviously said, "Oh hi, thanks for the game."
It's something boys just don't lose apparently.
Well,
they'll just keep spreading their butt cheeks forever and ever and ever.
Again, you know, let's normalize it, and you know, to me that's normal behaviour. I don't know
in public spaces. For other men to look at.
But this does bring up, you know, again, like a topic which you know, in terms of allowing the children to be, you know, comfortable naked as well. And, you know, we're kind of like, you know, I'm really relaxed. I'm a bit of a naturist. I always walk around with my top off at home, and it's just, you know, like, you know.
I can tell.
Yeah.
Basically,
It's
Lawrence's Instagram is just him. Lawrence is approaching 40, and if I look like that when I'm 40. Wow.
Stop it, Matthew. Stop it.
Come on. Lawrence has just got this ability to just impregnate women just looking at them. You know, we were walking down the street at High Street, Kenya, the other day, actually, when we went to film our content, and there were some Americans coming. You kind of hear them before you see them, and 2 of them just looked at you like this.
Really?
So like this. You didn't notice it, but I did. They were just like,
I didn't notice that.
I was like, all right, I'm right next to you. You didn't notice that.
Oh, I didn't. Oh, that's very kind.
So one thing I always want to do on the podcast is ask the father the worst piece of parenting advice they've ever been given and the best. So if I were to ask you, Lawrence, what's the worst piece of parenting advice you've ever been given? What would it be?
I don't know if, like, I'm not saying it's the worst bit of parenting advice that I've been given, but I'm struggling a little bit at the moment because I think that I'm quite a liberal parent.
You are?
I think I am.
You're taking your kids to like a festival this weekend, aren't you?
Well, I'm going to give it a go, yeah.
Yeah.
Going to give it a go. But and you know, it's like allowing, you know, providing some guidelines and boundaries, but allowing them to discover and learn for themselves. And, you know, if they're feeling certain emotional states, helping them to sort of be with that and explore it and so on. So I'm trying to hold the space for them to kind of explore. But what I'm finding is that there are no limitations. So, for instance,
if exploring a bit too much.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, you give an inch, they take a mile, and they just keep taking that extra mile for me at the moment.
You say my godson just always walks about with his dick out. Is that what you're saying? All the time.
Yes, of course.
All the time.
Yeah, we haven't actually said this, that Matthew is godfather to my son. Yeah, of course, that's quite a big thing. We should say that.
Good lad.
I mean, that's just, you know, like, it's bedtime. It's kind of like, okay, have this treat, and you know, by the end of the day, you know, it's, you know, I'm trying to figure this out myself. Again, it'd be wonderful when we have a guest on to learn more about, I don't know what the actual name of it is, but when you give the children a bit more freedom, you're not telling them yes or no. You're not saying, that's a bad emotion that you're feeling when you're angry or anything like that. But you're also trying to, allow them to express themselves whilst understand.
They love being naked, don't they?
Yeah.
It's funny. When does that suddenly change? And when are children suddenly aware that walking about with your bits out isn't socially...
I don't know.
correct?
I think I'm going back to that now. Obviously we kind of grow up, we get conditioned and we have to wear clothes and it's socially acceptable.
God damn it.
But now I'm going back to that. I'm like, just out in nature, kind of walk around with my feet,
With your butt cheeks out.
my butt cheeks out. I really shouldn't have told that story, should I?
That's great.
But,
that's going to be the opening to the podcast. I was just there with my butt cheeks out. And that was great.
No, I love it. I love the freedom of it all. I do love, and I think I want my children to grow up with an understanding of, boundaries and respecting how other people feel and making sure that, you don't, that you're not, that you have compassion for another person's feelings, and so that therefore gives you a boundary with your behaviors and all of this around it. But I don't want them to grow up to be conditioned robots like a Victorian era kind of child where they've been institutionalized and children are seen and not heard and all this kind of stuff. So I'm really trying to let them kind of but they're just taking a piss a little bit. So where do I do it?
The other day, and Brandon sent a video of.
Oh yeah.
What did it just say?
So that was
funny.
That was Tuesday.
That probably cracked me up.
So that was the day after we all slept in the same bedroom on the floor, and they had a day off at school, a day off school at home because they were sick. My wife is a teacher, took the day off work to look after them, and I just messaged her being like, how's my boy, how's my girl? And so she sent me this little selfie video on WhatsApp of her holding my son, and he's looking really cute, and she's like, here, say hello, and then she turns the camera to my daughter who's stood on a chair raiding the fridge and just turns to me and says, hello idiot, hello idiot big man. And she's just hurling abuse at me.
Girl.
But she does that. She kind of hurls abuse at me. My son is testing his masculine energy a bit at the moment. He's very physical, wants to wrestle, and again, I want to hold that space for him, but he's literally decking the shit out of me and punching and I'm again.
When was the first time you threw a punch and you thought, oh Jesus, that was I don't know if I can cope with this anymore.
Well, it's kind of
they can throw really. There's only two, but I've been caught by a few right hooks, and I'm like, whoa, Jesus Christ.
And it's when it comes out of nowhere as well, where you didn't realize it was fight time, because maybe you're at the cashier at the supermarket or something.
Oh yeah,
and
for
then
no reason.
Boom.
Yeah. Oh, you're out for a nice dinner.
Totally.
I don't think we go out for nice dinners anymore until she's a little bit older.
No,
there's no point. Because again, it's just very much that we look at each other like, why have we done this?
Yeah.
Why have we done this? Why have we brought this upon ourselves? Why have we done it? Yeah.
Totally.
What is was that an answer of worst parenting advice or best parenting advice?
I think that was just kind of parenting advice I was struggling with, so worst parent advice. And then, that was worst parent advice I've been giving. But I'm not saying it is, I'm just figuring it out.
Yeah. I think mine was probably just sleep when the baby sleeps. Because that's really hard. Because what are you supposed to do? Wash your clothes when the baby washes their clothes? Cook when the baby cooks?
So what was the advice you were given? Just sleep when the baby sleeps and you'll be okay?
When the baby's asleep, you go to sleep as well. And you're like, you've got to do the house, haven't you?
Yeah.
It's perfect time. Okay, I've got to do some ironing. I've got to put some clothes on.
Yeah.
So that was a bad piece of advice.
And then babies sleep in the afternoon. So what are you the Spanish at 3 p.m. having a siesta at work,
siesta time,
shutting up shop and just closing your eyes.
Yeah.
Wow.
That wasn't a good piece of advice.
No, who gave you that advice?
You.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. That sounds terrible.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I think that is a fantastic first episode of Say So Himself. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's just given me again. It's made me feel excited about learning, anxious about the things that I need to learn, and also realizing there are more questions.
What are you? Just before we wrap up, what are you? We kind of discussed all the excited, but is there anything you're fearful about in this podcast?
Yes.
Is there anything that worries you a little bit? You might learn about yourself as a dad and go, shit, it's just me that does that.
Totally, because we want to. We've got someone's childhood in our hands, and that impacts their life forever, and we all want to be the best parents we can be, but the best dads we can be. But every time they get to a certain age, it's the first time that they've been at that age. It's our first experience. So we can't get it right all the time. But I just want to sort of be able to hold that space for them and to give them what they need growing up. But I'm learning along the way. And of course, when we get experts in here who are saying, well, this is the way to do it. And
You did
that's
that
the way to
really
do it.
wrong.
Yeah,
The expert. I kind of wanted to say that, but yeah, that
of
makes
course,
sense.
there are going to be moments of self-reflection where I feel, where it's challenging for me to go there for certain places, but that's what I want. I want to be a better dad, a better parent, and so I do want to be challenged with it. So, yeah, it's scary. This whole podcast series premise to me is exciting and scary at the same time.
Yeah, I think it's finding out who the father is behind the person is what I'm really
So
excited.
you're going to
about.
say finding out the parent is finding out who the father is for your children.
Finding out who the father really is, yeah. And on today's show, who is your dad? It's not you.
Do the DNA test, the old Jerry Springer DNA
Could you
test.
imagine? Wow.
Maybe.
I
yeah.
think that's a bit dark for us to explore that.
Yeah.
But Lawrence, I'll be seeing
My
you
daughter is
on-
a redhead though, as well. Just to say.
Maybe we should wrap the episode here. Thank you for anybody who chose to listen to this. If you found it useful, please feel free to share it. And we actually do have some great guests coming on. They don't know about this yet, but I think we're going to learn a lot about what it's like being a dad, the challenges of being a dad, and the guilt of being a dad that Lawrence doesn't have, apparently.
Yeah, we're gonna be delving deep into the swan's feet,
The Swan's Flippers.
the flippers.
The Swan's Flippers. Episode 1, over and out.
Ciao, ciao.
The secret life of dad.